When I was a kid, I remember we used to go to this thing called the penny candy store. You can take $1 there, you can get 100 pieces of candy, and you can pick out, whatever you wanted in this store, and you can go in there with $1 and just come back with a bag full of candy, And I remember they had this new candy. It was like a now and later type of candy, and it was individually wrapped. And there was another kid that said that they were supposed to eat the wrapper with the candy, like the wrapper was edible, and we ate it. It didn't taste as good because the wrapper wasn't edible. Okay, it was actually it was made out of whatever wrapping paper, but we ate it like, I don't know, I don't like the texture of it, but we still ate it. My point in telling you guys this story is, don't take my commentary about what I say about Larry Bird in this video offensive from someone who ate candy with wrapping paper on it. All right. Don't get in your feelings. All right. Because I can be blunt at times. I'm working on it. Anyways, the video that I'm reacting to today is called How a Garbage Man Became an NBA Legend. And I used to think that Larry Bird was garbage man. All right. I used to really think that until I recently saw the tapes. I can't deny it. You know what I mean? I knew he was rated high on NBA Live and NBA 2K back when I used to beast out on those games. All right. Nobody could beat me. But I would study the rosters of even the old teams, like where Larry Bird played on, and they would show their ratings, like, how good they were at 3-point shooting, how good they could handle the ball. And Larry Bird was like Jesus on that damn game. And I'm like, man, they'd be overrating the hell out of some of these players. Okay, so I wouldn't pick Larry Bird whenever we would do our fantasy teams or whatever. We get to pick whatever legends we want, and then we would do our own mock-up all-star games, me and my brothers, when we would play the game. But anyways, he would pick Larry Bird and torch my ass sometimes with that guy. I couldn't shoot with him because I didn't like his release. But on video, oddly enough, I love his release. It's poetry in motion. You know what I mean? But anyways, being from Cleveland, Ohio, I spent like the first 7 or 8 years of my life, maybe 9 years in Cleveland, Ohio. I was born there. You would think my favorite player is LeBron James. My favorite player is not LeBron James. It's Michael Jordan, okay? But while LeBron James was playing, my favorite player was Dwayne Wade because I was a fan of his heart, okay? But that's not to say I didn't like LeBron James. I was a fan of his game, but I just wish that he would man up and make some selfish decisions like Kobe did, okay? Don't pass the ball, man. To who the hell was he passing to? To nobodies, okay? Man, go to the rack. I used to just get frustrated with him about that, but that's another rant. I'm bringing up LeBron James because I believe LeBron James could play in any era. He's a freak of nature. He was already a man amongst boys like the first day he stepped on the court. So I think he would adjust. I mean, he does a lot of the flopping and crap he does because he can get away with it, but I think that if he played back in the day, he wouldn't even have attempted it because it wouldn't have worked. And I think that he would have been smart enough to adjust and play like a man. But anyways, LeBron James, I think, can play in any era. Could Larry Bird play in this era with these rules they have today? Would he be able to keep up with these freaks of nature they got running up and down the court now? I don't know. I like to think he could, but, he wasn't known for being athletic. As far as I know, okay, just crafty, but with a killer heart, and that's what I'm a fan of. I'm a bigger fan of that. That puts you in my top if you're fearless and especially an underdog. So the Garbage Man. I didn't know that was his nickname, but I thought it was Larry Legend. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Before we get into it, if you like this type of content, do me a big favor and like the video. If you want to stay up to date whenever I post, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you want to see more uploads like this on the channel, make sure you engage in it, and it really helps me out. I appreciate it. Let's get right into this.
Larry was inches away from never achieving anything in basketball because back in the 70s, Bird was working as a garbage man in French Lick, Indiana, and he never wanted to become an NBA player. I thought I'd wind up being a construction worker, pouring concrete. As far as basketball goes, I just wanted to be the best player on my high school team. However, thanks to some luck and a coach who refused to give up on him along the way, the world was able to experience the basketball genius of Larry Bird. Bird would go on to become the best shooter of his era, an underrated defender, and one of the greatest rebounders ever at his position.
Called him a basketball genius. That's not a compliment you hear amongst men. You rarely hear somebody described that way, a basketball genius. But I will say his court vision, his ability to handle the ball, his ability to close out games, his competitive nature, his basketball IQ, I would say that is spot on. Okay. I'm not the type of person that's a kiss ass that likes to tell you guys, what you want to hear if you just so happen to be a fan of Larry Bird. I'm calling it like I see it. All right. If this boy was on a basketball court and he would just in high school, I'd be like, man, I don't even want to guard him. Okay. Because he's just going to, and then I learned that he talked trash too. Oh my God. I love that. Because if you talk trash and can back it up, you're my type of guy.
All while being one of the best trash talkers in NBA history.
There it is.
He just shook his head at me. He said, man, it's going to be a up night for you.
Pat Riley once said that
I haven't seen this. That was a coincidence.
If he had to choose a player to take a shot to save a game, he'd choose Michael Jordan. But if he had to choose a player to take a shot to save his life, he'd take Larry Bird. This is a story of how a garbage...
I get that. I get where he's going with that. I understood exactly what he meant with that because with Michael Jordan, I'm trying to see how can I explain it. With Michael Jordan, he's going to shoot it. He's going to be fearless. He's going to give it his all. He's cold as ice, okay, but he's 6 for 6 though, okay. He's 6 for 6. Is Larry Bird undefeated? In the finals. I don't know the record, but is he? I don't think he is. So I don't know, but I still get it. Larry Bird is just a lethal 3-point shooter. Okay, there it is.
Man became an NBA legend. Larry Bird was born in 1956 in West Baden, Indiana, a small town next to French Lick. That was a farming town of about 2,000 people. Larry was the fourth of 6 children, born into a poor family where his father Joe was a construction worker and his mother Georgia worked in a diner. Because his father's construction job wasn't stable, and because Joe was also an alcoholic, the Birds struggled to make ends meet. They lived in a small house, and during cold winters, their old furnace would often break down, leaving...
It's crazy enough they just labeled him like that. Like he was an alcoholic. I just thought that just came out of nowhere. Like, damn.
The family freezing. Due to financial difficulties, Larry would often be sent to live with his grandmother in French Lick. And being poor weighed on Larry a lot. And he always said that poverty was his biggest motivator in life.
As growing up, you don't realize that you don't have anything because you never had it in the first place. Making some money and looking back, I remember all of it. And I don't want to be like that again.
But his saving grace...
This makes me like him even more. Okay, because I've been homeless when I was a child. I know what it's like to wait at a church for them to give you free food. They used to give out to poor families bags of food, and you don't know what's in the bag. Okay, like they give you a can mystery. It doesn't have a wrapper on it. So whatever you open, whatever's in that can, that's what's for dinner. So I resonate with that. You think that's just a black thing, but you see there's other people, especially, in the South, in different places where that, or not even just in the South, but that's with anybody. You can find this type of poverty that creates a hardworking mindset. So, I like that.
Was playing sports. Sports was a big part of our lives every day. There was never a day we didn't do something, whether it was baseball, basketball, or football. His older brothers were pretty good basketball players, and they were the reason that Larry picked up the sport, and for his competitiveness on the court. Younger brothers often make the best ball players. Children who grow up chasing older siblings play up, and it's an advantage when they start playing against kids their own age. Larry was about 13 years old, 6 feet and 130 pounds when his father promised him $20 if he made the freshman team in high school. Back then, $20 to Larry was probably what $1 million is to him now, maybe even more. So he kept practicing really hard. And to his amazement, Larry realized he loved playing ball more than anything else in the world. I played when I was cold and my body was aching and I was so tired. I don't know why, I just kept playing and playing. I guess I always wanted to make the most out of it.
Yeah, I'm a millennial, so, what we did all day, if we wasn't gaming, we was hooping. And all my brothers are taller than me, so, like, anybody that's, like, 6'4", 6'5", or just towering over me, I would take pleasure as somebody under 6 foot and throwing their shit across the court. Or if you're 6'4", 6'5", and you guarded me and just shaking your drawers off, you know what I mean? But we would hoop for 8 hours, okay, and then go back home and play the game. It's crazy how we all have like similar childhoods, but today I think it's all TikTok dances and a lot of sports. This is just my opinion. Sports will never be as good as they were because there's somebody right now as good as Michael Jordan, okay, doing TikTok dances. All right, they're not even pursuing sports, just 6'6" for nothing, So and that's just my guess with all sports. With less people interested in it, it's less a shot that you're going to get that one genius that loves the culture as we continue with this new distraction culture. In my morbid opinion, if that's the right word.
My body was aching and I was so tired. I don't know why, I just kept playing and playing. I guess I always wanted to make the most out of it. And Larry did make the freshman team, albeit only as a bench warmer, since he only played in garbage time minutes. As a sophomore, he missed most of the year with an ankle injury, but that's when he got maybe the biggest life lesson from his father. I was 13 or 14.
Man, I thought I was a funny looking kid.
Maybe. And my father came home with an ankle all black and blue and red. He needed me and my brother just to get his boot off, and he was in awful pain. But the next morning, we got the boot back on and he went to work. That really made an impression on me.
We don't know if he broke it or he just hurt it, but couldn't get his boot on. We had to help him get his boot on and go to work. So to me, it had been very easy to just say heck with it, but he knew he had to go.
Some 20 years later, many fans marveled at Larry's ability to play through all types of injuries. And
That's powerful. Watching your father do what needs to be done by any means necessary created that work ethic that he took to the NBA. And of course, not to preach, that's what's missing in society today. That's where it's kicking my ass right now. That's what's missing. And yeah, it's just crazy to see the men of different generations, because that's what created that mindset. You don't see that today as often with the youth, but it's great to see what his motivation was on the court.
Impression on me.
We don't know if he broke it or he just hurt it, but couldn't get his boot on. We had to help him get his boot on and go to work. So to me, it had been very easy to just say heck with it, but he knew he had to go.
Some 20 years later, many fans marveled at Larry's ability to play through all types of injuries, and it all stemmed from seeing his father going to work, despite being barely able to walk.
Sheesh.
And while he was nursing his own ankle injury, still on crutches, Larry was shooting in the driveway every day, hitting 200 shots before school. Once his foot healed toward the end of his sophomore year, the coach unexpectedly put him in the game, and that's when all his practice paid off.
Well, my confidence came from me shooting basketball by myself for hours upon hours. I mean, I didn't pick up a ball on a Saturday and decide I was going to score 40 a game. I mean, that preparation came way before that.
With a minute left in the game, Larry made the game-winning free throws, and for the first time ever, his name made the local paper. It was after that game that Bird started listening and applying everything his coach explained about basketball fundamentals. And
that's one thing I noticed the difference between legendary players. I'm pretty sure there are players that practice and work on their game consistently. But what I see about people like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Kobe Bryant, etc., was when you hear about their stories in practice, and what they did before they got to the game. Well, even though I did hear stories about Michael Jordan smoking and eating steak. Well, I don't know if eating steak's a bad thing. There was at one point I eating steak before the game. That's controversial, but I heard he ate steak and smoked cigars. Cigars are a bad thing if you're an athlete, but that just gives you an idea of how big of a freak of nature Michael Jordan was, smoking cigars And I think I saw a video where Sean Kemp said that he got high before every game, even the games with Michael Jordan. He got high. Crazy.
Larry began practicing these skills to the point of obsession. When he returned for his junior season, Bird grew to 6'3", with refined dribbling skills and a knack for passing. Larry knew that senior teammate Steve Land would handle the scoring, and that he'd help his team the most by being a passer, falling in love with the feeling he received any time he made a pass that led to a bucket. But his coach realized that Bird was only trying to dish the ball, and threatened to glue him to the bench if he didn't start shooting. And Larry listened to him, becoming the second leading scorer on the team, averaging 16 points and 9 assists per game. At that point, Bird was a good high school player, but not a great one, as his junior season was the first year he played consistent minutes of organized basketball. So nobody could even imagine what would happen in Larry's senior year, when Bird transformed from a solid player to an absolute monster. A big part of that was his physical growth, because over the summer, Larry sprouted 4 inches, and at 6'7", he was now the tallest guy on the team, but also the best shooter, passer, and ball handler. Bird had also started.
Now, who can you say that about? Well, I'm not going to do the comparison again. I was going to say with LeBron James, you never said nobody's ever said he's the best shooter on the team. You know what I'm saying? Nobody ever said that he was the best shooter on the team, but that's a crazy to be 6'7" and be the best shooter and the best ball handler. That's. I'm trying to think of players like that. Kevin Durant, who can handle the ball decent, to be such a tall guy. Tracy McGrady was an excellent ball handler, but they still didn't hit all those categories. I'm just thinking out loud, but yeah.
Larry sprouted 4 inches, and at 6'7", he was now the tallest guy on the team, but also the best shooter, passer, and ball handler. Bird had also started weightlifting, and he came into his senior season at 185 pounds, 40 pounds up from his junior season. And in his first game of the season, Larry dominated with 27 points, 21 rebounds, and 7 assists.
2020.
In the third game of the season, he broke the school's single-game scoring record, knocking down 43 points in a loss. But after the game,
what's a ticket? If you could do a time machine in a virtual world and go back and watch these games like you're sitting in the audience, that's the technology they need to advance.
Single-game
those games will be sold out.
Scoring record, knocking down 43 points in a loss. But after the game, Larry had an epiphany, realizing he could score anytime he wanted to. Later that year, Larry dropped 55 points with 24 rebounds and 5 assists against Cole.
He's 6'7", but for goodness gracious.
Larry dropped 55 points with 24 rebounds and 5 assists against Corey.
He's playing against middle schoolers.
And in his last home game of the regular season, Bird collected 54 points.
See, this is why I gave him some flack. You notice something about this picture right here?
Against Corridon.
This video.
In his last home.
Let me see. Or maybe I'm looking. I don't know. Where are all the black dudes at, okay?
Home game of the regular season, Bird collected 54 points, 38 rebounds.
I don't know if you're scoring 54 points. I'm saying that's the flack I did give Blair. But again, when you're an innovator, you're an innovator. Rules were different back then. It wasn't as it is now. But 54 points is insane still.
And 8 assists. And this was all without a three-point shot. For the season, Larry averaged 31 points, 21 rebounds, and 4 assists per game, after which he accepted a scholarship to play for the famous Indiana Hoosiers and the great Bobby Knight. However, after just 4 weeks at Indiana University, Bird was miserable. He didn't have any money, he missed his family, and felt alienated and overwhelmed by big crowds.
Financially, I couldn't stay.
Okay.
Reg, I just couldn't do it.
So, Larry returned home to French Lick, where he enrolled at a local community college. But he soon gave up on that, too. And then, he became a garbage man in French Lick and was happier than ever.
Wow.
I loved that job. It was outdoors, you were around your friends, picking up brush, cleaning up. I felt like I was really accomplishing something.
You know how rough your childhood had to be for you to say you love being a garbage man, okay? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that just gives you an idea, because my first job was washing dishes at Denny's, and I loved it because it was the first time, I think I was 16, where I could make my own money and buy my shoes and buy myself a shirt or something and do things for myself. So I was happy no matter what job it was, as long as it was paying. But similar to Larry, that's those humble beginnings.
Around your friends, picking up brush, cleaning up, I felt like I was really accomplishing something. How many times are you riding around your town and you say to yourself, why don't they fix that? Why don't they clean the streets up? And here, I had the chance to do that. I had the chance to make my community look better.
Nice.
And even though he lived a peaceful life, tossing garbage bags and fixing benches in the park, Larry's family life soon turned into a disaster. In 1975, when Bird was only 18 years old, his father committed suicide, and Larry was devastated.
He chose the way he wanted to die, and he did it. And it's just unfortunate that some people have problems like that. But I wish he was here, but he's not. So I had to go on with my life and try to make the most of my life, just like the rest of my family has. And that's the way we dealt with it.
Joe Bird was divorced from Larry's mother at that point, with his PTSD and alcoholism as the main reason for their separation. Alimony payments and debts to creditors were mounting, and it was getting harder for Joe to find work. So he came to the conclusion that his family would be better served through life insurance money. Joe then called his ex-wife and told her she didn't need to worry about the debts anymore, and then he hung up and took his life. Growing up, Larry was best friends with his father. The two spent a lot of time
I wonder if they got the money
together, and his death affected Larry deeply. Although he felt betrayed by his father's act, Larry once again respected his father's sacrifice for his loved ones, and that's the same attitude he always brought to the basketball court. During that period when he worked as a garbage man, Larry got married to a girl he'd known for years, but that marriage turned out to be a catastrophe. And just when they got divorced, he found out that his now ex-wife was pregnant, and she prohibited Larry from having anything to do with the baby. So, between 1975 and 1976, a still teenage Larry Bird quit 2 colleges, lost his dad, and suffered through a messy divorce.
Jeez.
Who knows how his life would have turned out if he hadn't been recruited by Bill Hodges, then the assistant coach at Indiana State University.
Man, the mental toughness.
The young coach knew how good Bird was, and the two of them formed a relationship through Hodges' attempt to get Larry to play ball again. However, Larry was reluctant due to his failure at Indiana University, his job as a garbage man, and his complicated family situation. But Hodges was relentless, and one day he went to see Bird at his mother's house. Larry kept talking about a buddy of his who could really play ball, but nobody knew about him because he never went to college. To it.
Now, I'm wondering if, I guess I'm putting myself back in a time that, it's not my time. They weren't making that great of money back then, so I guess that's why he wasn't like all that, I'm going to play basketball for a living. I mean, how much were NBA players making at that time? Or I could be off. I could be way off, but, I mean, you're 6 foot, as tall as you are, why not? Again, he had a hard life, and then he's just a kid at that time, but that just sounds wild to me. They didn't want to play.
Really play ball, but nobody knew about him because he never went to college. To which Hodges replied, "Yeah, Larry, they're going to say that about you someday." After that mic drop, Hodges got up and left without even saying goodbye. And 2 days later, he got a call from Larry, who decided to join Indiana State, which would change his life forever.
If Bill Hodges hadn't been as persistent as he had been, Larry Bird might never have existed in any of our minds. I believe that with all my heart.
In his first season for the Sycamores, Larry, who is now 6'9", immediately proved that he was a basketball genius, averaging 33 points, 13 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a block in 28 games.
Once I started playing, it's the same old thing. He's at a small school and he ain't playing against anybody. Which is
that looks a lot more fun than throwing trash in a dumpster.
Still dominated.
During his second season at Indiana State, Bird averaged 30, 11, and 4, and was voted a consensus first-team All-American. Larry intended to return to Indiana State for his senior season, and the NBA rules at the time stated that players must spend 4 years in college to be eligible for the NBA draft. So in 1978, nobody in the NBA was thinking about Larry Bird, except for Red Auerbach, the general manager of the Boston Celtics. Auerbach didn't think that he could find a superstar in the 1978 draft, and he believed that Bird was going to be the first pick in '79, and that the Celtics wouldn't be able to get him then. However, because Bird enrolled at Indiana in 1974, but dropped out only a few weeks into his first semester, by technicality, he was eligible to get drafted. Still, drafting him was very risky because Larry could re-enter the draft after his senior season, but Auerbach was willing to gamble, and with the 6th pick in the 1978 draft, the Celtics picked Bird, which was a shock to the rest of the NBA.
I just think that Red took a gamble because he had the 6th and the 8th pick that year. He wanted me. And why didn't he wait to the 8th pick? Why did he take me the 6th pick?
But what happened in the 1979 NCAA season was maybe even more shocking. Bird led the Sycamores to an undefeated season and made it all the way to the national championship against Michigan State and their star point guard.
Man, it's just crazy. Whenever you hear him talk about the games he's in, there's always something incredible. To an undefeated season, you know what I mean? It's always something incredible,
Was maybe even more shocking. Bird led the Sycamores to an undefeated season and made it all the way to the national championship against Michigan State and their star point guard, Magic Johnson. Indiana State won 33 games in a row leading to the finals, and Bird was especially inspired in the Final Four against the second-seeded DePaul, finishing the game with 35 points, 16 rebounds, and 9 assists, shooting 16 for 19 from the field. However, in the national championship game, he ran into a better team. Michigan State was much more athletic, and they kept trapping Bird, forcing him to take tough shots. Magic and Michigan State won the title.
This is what I mean by the 55-point game. You know what I mean?
Trapping Bird, forcing him to take tough shots. Magic and Michigan State won the title, beating Indiana State 75-64, with Larry hitting just 7 of 21 shots for 19 points. Due to the hype created by Bird and Magic, the 1979 NCAA Finals game achieved the highest ever television rating for a college basketball game. And with 35 million viewers, that record still stands today.
Right.
However, after the college season ended, Bird still had a big decision to make, whether to stay with the Celtics or re-enter the draft. He first visited Boston on April 6, 1979, where he, Red Auerbach, and Larry's agent discussed Bird's contract. They finally settled on a $650,000 a year deal, which made Bird the highest paid rookie ever. But Bird felt no pressure. If I fail, I fail. I failed classes before. I know the feelings. And
now NBA players gamble that much on a Friday.
When the season started, Larry did the furthest thing from failing. The Celtics went from a 29-53 record in 1979 to 61-21 in 1980, and the best record in the NBA.
And I think it took me probably 3 days after a rookie camp. I found out that, hey, this league is nothing. I can play in this league, and I will dominate in this league.
With averages of 21.3 points, 10 points.
I love it. Love that. Love that.
And I think it took me probably 3 days after a rookie camp. I found out that, hey, this league is nothing. I can play in this league, and I will dominate in this league.
With averages of...
That's what made the NBA great. That mindset, not like you have today where these guys are not trying to be flashy. I don't know. I don't watch the NBA anymore, but I just haven't seen every year that has went by, the competitive nature is just going down and down and down in sports, and you just don't see guys. And then also, to be fair, they're not going to build guys like Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, all those guys. Times were a lot harder back then in terms of the way people worked for money. Than they are today. Today, the narrative is a lot of people don't want to work. Okay, there's so many for hiring signs up. That's why so many other people are coming to the country to help, keep this place afloat in terms of the labor. So you don't really hear stories about people. I'm not saying that there's not hard workers in America that's doing the same thing that his dad did, where they work until they're have blisters on their toes. But generally speaking, people don't want to work. They're not going to have that mindset and be carved from what's the phrase, a rose growing out of the cement. I think that there's a phrase like that, and that's where these great players come from, where they get, and it gives them that mindset. You're not going to see that anymore today.
21.3 points, 10.4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, and 1.7 steals per game for the season, Larry was selected to the All-Star team, made the first-team All-NBA, finished 4th in MVP voting, and won Rookie of the Year over Magic Johnson. But in the Eastern Conference Finals, Julius Erving's 76ers proved to be too tough, and the Sixers spoiled a championship meeting between Bird and Magic. And then, in the 1981 season, it was Magic who failed to reach the finals against Bird. With the addition of Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, who came in a trade dubbed the Steal of the Century, the Celtics assembled arguably the greatest front court in NBA history.
The one thing that we did my second year, we picked up Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. Now, we didn't know how they was going to fit in, but they fit in very nicely. And
that was a trio.
Boston won 62 games in the regular season.
Is that a super team? By the original definition, I think when it was Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James, and then later on, I think Ray Allen, but not, he wasn't in his prime, but he was still good. But yeah, the super team, but how many great players make a super team?
But they fit in very nicely. And
Boston won 62 games in the regular season. Bird finished runner-up for the MVP behind Dr. J, and in the playoffs, the C's swept Chicago, then avenged the loss to the Sixers in one of the most thrilling series ever, with 5 of 7 games decided on the final possession. And after they won Game 7 by 1 point, Boston faced the Houston Rockets in the NBA Finals. Bird didn't have a great shooting series, hitting just 42% of his shots and averaging 15 points per game. But he also averaged 15 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals, winning his first NBA championship in just his second season in the league.
Shot. Got it done.
Cedric Maxwell was named the Finals MVP because he averaged more points than Larry, but there was no doubt who was the best player on the Celtics.
After he won the championship in
so this must have been during the time before I think they only gave the MVP. I thought they only gave it to the winner of the team. That I didn't know the losing. Oh, I'm tripping. He is on the same team. So he didn't get the, oh, wow. So he got the MVP. Okay.
But there was no doubt who was the best player, winning his first NBA championship in just his second season in the league.
The Boston Celtics have won the World Championship in 1981.
Cedric Maxwell was named the Finals MVP because he averaged more points than Larry, but there was no doubt who was the best player on the
so they strictly just went by points. They didn't go by impact or anything else, or just by points, not assists, blocks, or nothing else. Hitting the game winner, those type of things.
Celtics.
After we won the championship in 81, I feel like we had a good enough team where we could start a destiny and win a lot of championships.
In the next 2 years, Bird's numbers continued to rise, and he finished second in MVP voting in both seasons. In 1983, he was third in voting for Defensive Player of the Year, despite his reputation as a slow-footed, unathletic player. But even
third. Nice.
With the stellar play from Bird and the ascension of Kevin McHale, the Celtics regressed, losing to the Sixers in the 82 Conference Finals and getting swept by Milwaukee in 83. With a bitter taste of disappointment after that loss, Coach Fitch resigned and was replaced by K.C. Jones, an 8-time champion as a player from the Bill Russell era. And with the new coach, the addition of a great shooter in Danny Ainge and stellar defense from a veteran point guard Dennis Johnson, the Celtics were on.
How great was this, man? A lifelong rivalry in basketball from college till now, and also like a competitive nature where they're both aware of it and they're both trying to give their best and go at each other. That story also makes it great, alone, which is one of my favorite things about this video so far. The competition between him and Magic Johnson, who are both winners, by the way, I'm pretty sure it was an incredible thing to watch. Some of these years I wasn't born, so
once more. But this time it was Magic and the Lakers who came out on top, with Kareem winning the Finals MVP. For the 86 season, the Celtics traded Cedric Maxwell for Bill Walton, a former MVP center who was struggling to stay healthy. But the gamble paid off, and Walton shined in his role as a sixth man, as the Celtics played one of the best seasons in franchise history. They finished with
I didn't know much about Walton's game, mostly about his coaching. That's you know what I mean?
Man, as the Celtics played one of the best seasons in franchise history. They finished with 67 wins and 15 losses, and including the playoffs, they lost just one game in the Boston Garden, going 50-1 at home for the season. Larry was at his absolute basketball peak, averaging 26, 10, and 7, with 2 steals and near 50-40-90 shooting. During a long...
Listen, Larry had some incredibly beautiful passes. Okay, when we talk about great passers, he is up there. Got to be top 5.
10 and 7, with 2
in terms of style,
steals, and near 50-40-90 shooting. During a long regular season, Larry would often get bored and had to find extra challenges to motivate himself. And before a game against Portland in February, Bird surprised his teammates and journalists by saying that he would play the whole game with his left hand. And despite barely touching the ball with his right, Larry finished with 47 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists, including...
Take back everything I said. That's 47 points on NBA players.
play the whole game with his left hand.
Goodness.
And despite barely touching the ball with his right, Larry finished with 47 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists.
Those are still grown men at the end of the day.
Including a game-tying shot in regulation and a game winner in overtime.
If I remember the game correctly, they were forcing me left to help.
And I have the mindset, before I let you score 47 points on me, I'm fouling out. Okay, it's not going to happen. All right, you're not scoring 47. I'm not going to foul out on purpose, but I'm going to play hard. I'm not just that's my mindset. So for him to be able to get that off is amazing.
Winner in overtime.
If I remember the game correctly, they were forcing me left to help, and they wasn't getting there quick enough, so I had shots around 5-6 foot with my left hand. I felt more comfortable with my left hand there than I did my right. Then once I got started making a few, I just kept going.
It was one of the greatest games of his career, on par with his career-high 60 points from the 1985 season against Atlanta. Larry was hitting jumpers left and right from impossible angles, getting into such a zone that the Hawks bench even jumped out of their chairs and cheered for him.
That 6 foot, it's hard to block somebody that tall and fading away.
Getting into such a zone that the Hawks bench even jumped out of their chairs and cheered for him, which got them fined by their coach.
Right.
The announcer let me know every time I scored. So he go 48, 50, 52, and when it got to that with like 3 or 4 minutes to go, I thought I might as well go ahead and try to get 60, and that's what I did.
Then, in 1986, Bird received 73 out of 78 first-place votes for the MVP award, becoming just the 3rd player to win MVP 3 years in a row.
Only 2 other players won the regular season MVP award 3 consecutive times, as Bird did, Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain.
And in the 1986 playoffs, the Celtics steamrolled through the East, sweeping Jordan and the Bulls, defeating Dominique and the Hawks in 5, and then swept the Bucks to reach their 3rd straight NBA Finals, this time against the Houston Rockets. And while the Houston's twin towers of Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon provided a bigger challenge for the Celtics, there was nobody who could stop Larry. With 24 points, 9.7 rebounds, and 9.5 assists, Larry was 2 rebounds and 3 assists shy from averaging a triple-double in the finals, winning another finals MVP as the Celtics won the title in 6 games.
Listen, this may say a lot without saying anything, but, if I could go back and watch some of the best games, if I can go back in a time machine and I had to pick like my, like current players like LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or Tim Duncan, any of those games, go back and watch any. If I could go back in a virtual world back and watch the story, it would be Larry Bird's story. So when I'm thinking to myself, okay, when I rank the greatest of all time, and I'm watching these highlights and these incredible stats, I got him past LeBron. You know what I mean? In terms of if I had to pick my favorite, but I could be biased. Like I said, I'm a fan of players that really leave it all on the court, that take it seriously. I might not ever be able to go back to Cleveland. Okay, so make sure you guys like the video, you know what I mean? But I don't really pick with my emotions. You can't deny what this guy has done and how he put the NBA on his back the same way. I'm comparing him to LeBron because I think LeBron is, aside from Michael Jordan, like one of the next. He's carried the NBA, been the face of the NBA for a very long time, and has done a great job, in my opinion. Given what he had to work with. In terms of his mindset, I won't go there, but, a lot of the players like Kobe, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, one thing they all had in common was a father to whether it was a healthy way to instill that mindset in them, you know what I mean? So that's the biggest difference where, that's not how LeBron is. He's a nice guy. So he's not going to have that killer instinct the way a lot of the players that we love have. So when I'm ranking my favorite players, I love that killer tenacity, that win, that get better by any means necessary, that shoot 200 shots in the morning type of mindset. I'm a fan of that. I think that makes for better basketball. And Larry Bird, he exudes that, in my opinion.
In 1987, Bird became the first player to shoot 50, 40, 90 for the season, averaging 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists per game. But while Larry was still on top, the Celtics regressed.
And another thing, this isn't stat padding in any way, okay? He's not padding any stats. Like, when he scores, he's trying to kill you. When he throws an assist, he's not trying to get a triple-double. He's trying to win the game. I love that, you know.
And 8 assists per game. But while Larry was still on top, the Celtics regressed. Before the season, their number 2 overall pick, Len Bias, tragically passed away after the draft, and they suffered many injuries during the season and the playoffs.
I was the healthiest one on the roster. That's not saying much.
Right.
I felt pretty good. I know Robert had ankle injuries, and Kevin broke his foot. Danny had a hip problem. And just to get to the finals, it made us feel good.
Still, they had Larry, who pushed the C's to their 4th consecutive finals after one of the most legendary moments.
What a beast mode dunk.
Who pushed the C's to their 4th consecutive finals after one of the most legendary moments of his career, when he stole the ball from Isaiah Thomas in Game 5 of the Eastern Finals.
And it was like in slow motion. It was like the ball like...
I hate when this guy talks.
And in the finals, once again, it was Boston versus LA for the 3rd time in 4 years. But this time, the Lakers were healthier and better rested, and the Celtics didn't have enough gas in the tank to stop the fast-paced showtime. Bird delivered another 24, 10, and 5 for the series, but it wasn't good enough, as Magic got the best of him once again. The next year, Bird had
this is the great story of Magic coming right back at him. You know what I mean? This is probably still to this day. You guys let me know, you NBA hardcore fans who have always studied the game. What's the best story in the NBA? You know, is it this story? Is it the Lakers story? You know, not this Lakers. I'm talking about Shaq and Kobe versus the Spurs. What's another story? What's another rivalry? I don't know. You guys let me know. But I would think it would be obvious. But to me, from all the ones that I've heard of, there's also the Michael Jordan story, you know, as well. But who's Michael Jordan's biggest competition? You know, it doesn't. You know, it's not Magic. He doesn't have that rivalry with Magic the entire time, you know.
Best statistical season of his career. He averaged 30 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, again shooting 50, 40, 90 for the season, and proving that he was the best shooter who ever played at the time. Unfortunately for Larry and the Celtics, they lost in the conference finals against Detroit, and the 1988 season proved to be the last hurrah for the Celtics' big 3 of Bird, McHale, and Parrish in terms of contending for a title. Bird missed almost the entire 1989 season due to a persisting back injury and multiple surgeries to remove bone spurs from his ankles. He originally injured his back in the 85 offseason after deciding to build the driveway of his mother's home himself.
Larry decides to do it himself. This is Larry Bird.
Come on, man. I mean, that's when you think you're a superhero and this is that mindset, but you're worth all that money and you're out there risking it. He's crazy.
Driveway of his mother's home himself.
Larry decides to do it himself.
Crazy.
This is Larry Bird, the superstar, out there breaking his back, literally shoveling gravel.
He spent all day shoveling gravel and ended up hurting his back and causing his spine to get misaligned.
He said he was a genius on the court.
He had lost the structural stability in his spine, so it would slip into abnormal positions to try and lock itself to get an artificial stability. That's like getting your finger stuck in a door and somebody's still pushing on the door.
Oh my God.
Bird was a millionaire and he could have easily paid someone else to do it. But Larry enjoyed manual labor and he wanted to help his mother with his own hands. And
either that or he was cheap.
Paying people for something he could do himself simply wasn't Larry's style. I really don't need anyone to build my ego. When I'm home in Boston, I want to go out and eat, pay my bill, and get the hell out. Right. Back in French Lick, I don't have those problems. And that's why I go back there. It's the same with nice cars, Mercedes and all that. I can't see putting $50,000 or $60,000 into a car when our house growing up was worth $10,000. I just can't buy that. And clothes never did catch my eye. I never really enjoyed them. I always wore what I felt comfortable in. I'll wear pretty much anything if I get it for free. And because of his back injury, Larry probably should have retired in '88. But that memory of when he was 14 years old and his father went to work with a foot that was 50 shades of purple stuck with him. And Larry kept playing through the pain.
They say you become your parents.
To me, you know, I'm just so glad I got the NBA and made it. I didn't want some little injury messing up my whole season, so I tried to play through a lot of them.
From 1988 onward, Bird had to have his spine realigned before games just to be able to participate. The injury was so severe that he often had to lie down for hours at a time, either between games or sometimes even during games, spending up to 4 hours a day stretching. And
all of these positions I do every day, okay? I'm relating on, it's so much I can relate to this guy about, all right? Like that position where he's, because I have lower back issues, it kills me. And Steve Nash, all those people that used to be laying down, and I get it now. You know, I'm at the age where I understand.
Even though he could barely walk, Larry still averaged 21, 9, and 7 in the last 3 seasons of his career. They called him Larry the Legend because of his dominance on the court, the extreme confidence he exuded, and the trash talking he served on a daily basis. Going into
he earned that name.
Locker room during the three-point shooting contest and asking other participants which one of you is going to come in second.
Everybody's looking at me and go, who's coming in second? And nobody said a word. I thought maybe they thought I was joking, but maybe they thought I was serious. But, well, then I had to go out and win it. But truthfully, I meant it. I mean, I knew I was probably going to win the contest.
And then defeating them without ever taking off his jacket, legendary.
With the jacket on.
Telling players...
You know, I've seen that clip. I never considered like that. I'm not even going to take my jacket off. You know, I thought just maybe he was just comfortable shooting in his jacket. It never crossed my mind that he was doing that just to stun on them boys. Funny stuff.
Said he was going to get the ball, how many dribbles he was going to take, and then doing exactly that, sinking a jumper in their face. Legendary.
Every time he was about to make a move, he told him what he was going to do. One dribble, pull up, going left, off glass.
And did you know Bird played the entirety of his career with a dislocated finger? His right index finger got badly hurt during his last season at Indiana State. But like always, Larry just pulled the finger, put it back in place, and kept playing through the pain. Bird had to slightly change his shooting stroke because of that finger, and he swears he was a better shooter.
It sounds like one of those stories, like back in my day, you know, in the wintertime, we walked to school and we didn't have shoes.
In college than in the NBA. And the numbers support this theory, as he shot 53% in college compared to 49.6% in the pros. And despite his reputation of being a trash-talking jerk, as well as getting into a few fights on and off the court, people who know Larry will tell you that he was an even better person than he was a player. When the Celtics won the title in 1984, Bird approached Red Auerbach and said, "I'd like to buy a championship ring for Walter, an old equipment manager and sometime trainer who died in 1985. No other player ever thought of that," Auerbach said. And in a 1985 game against the Utah Jazz, when he was just one steal away from recording a quadruple-double, something that only Nate Thurmond had achieved up to that point, Larry instead chose to stay on the bench, saying that he already did enough damage.
Getting a quadruple-double meant nothing to me. I mean, really, you go into a game and when you're up by 25, 30 points, just for a steal, makes no sense to me. I did enough damage already.
And that's the perfect example.
He's got that balance of ego, but humility at the same time. Okay, who is this guy, all right?
Example of the duality of Larry Bird. On one hand, he was an uber-confident SOB that would destroy your soul on the court. But he was also a modest country boy who used to pick up garbage in French Lick and felt it was immoral to buy a Mercedes.
Well, like I said, when I grew up, I never went away from French Lick, so this is all I really knew.
It's not supposed to be immoral. I've never had a Mercedes, but I wouldn't turn down one.
Not that I think this is the greatest town in the world, but it's my hometown. This is where my family and friends are, so it's important to me.
Thanks for watching. And if you like this video...
Yep, and I'll leave the link to the original video in the description. Yeah, I said it. Okay, I'm picking. All right, this is my pick. I like Larry Bird because I had like Jordan 1, LeBron 2, and this still could change because I still think LeBron James is a freak of nature. Okay, who did not get hurt. Okay, but my criteria for what I like in my favorite player, Larry Bird, he hits all of them. This is where Michael Jordan gets it from. He watched Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all those players, their mindset, that transferred to him. He took the game extremely serious, okay? And I enjoyed that. I enjoy that story. So, I don't know. You guys let me know. What do you think? What did you think of the video? If you like this type of stuff on the content, on the channel. I get scatterbrained when talking on a microphone in front of a camera. It's not something I do naturally, but you guys get it. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And what other athlete do you guys think I should dive in? I'll really tackle anything from rugby, NHL, or, there's a lot of stuff out there, great stories that I haven't discovered, that if you guys want to see commentaries, let me know in the comments section or hit me up. But anyways, peace.
I did it.